Hello and welcome to the DrivingMaul show. Yes, sorry, I'm a few minutes late and also didn't have it all pre-planned this week. The whole the whole Labour weekend, long weekend, has kind of messed all of that up a bit, and also having kids this weekend, it's all kind of thrown things around as to what's going on. But hey, we are here, or I'm here anyway. Hopefully, Steve will be joining me. He also forgot that today was Monday. He thought today was Sunday, so hence that's why he's not here, because he was out. So maybe he might get back in time. He might not. Otherwise, it could just be me tonight. So what are we going to talk about this week? We've got a bit in the news around New Zealand rugby commercial. So we'll have a chat about what has been going on there, and I'll also remind you what it is, because let's be honest, it's not a big thing. We'll chat about the NPC final, and also have a chat around the All Blacks, or Japan versus the All Blacks from the weekend as well. So yes, what's been happening at New Zealand rugby commercial? Well, they hired a CEO less than a year ago to actually start running the thing. And I've noticed that over probably about 2 months ago, there are actually a whole bunch of jobs came up for New Zealand rugby commercial on the old Seek. So what you can do, what I've done is set up a little search that every time a job comes up that's got rugby in it, that's based in New Zealand, then I get an email. So hence I spotted these 2 or 3 jobs that came out. It's like, wow, actually maybe New Zealand rugby commercial is doing something. That'd be kind of cool. Because let's be honest, what is New Zealand rugby commercial? Well, it's the section that basically got hived off or got created as part of the Silver Lake deal. So hence Silver Lake and New Zealand Rugby are both co-owners of it, and that it basically holds all the commercial side of New Zealand Rugby. Is hived off into there. So basically, a lot of the all your sponsorships and TV deals, that kind of stuff is what's going on in there. Well, the the CEO, who has been there for about, I think, 7 or 8 months, has decided to resign, step down, which that's not really a very good start, is it? This guy they've got in, he used to work for Google. From the UK, he was this fantastic CEO who's going to really revolutionize things. Basically, what he wanted to do, the leadership decided, basically New Zealand Rugby, Blazers decided they didn't like it. And so they had a different vision as to how to take things forward. So hence he's leaving. So yes, that seems to be a fairly common thing at the moment with Dame Reddy also leaving as the chairperson of New Zealand Rugby. So yes, all a bit of a mess there, really. And the timing is not very good, because apparently they're in the middle of or about to do the next negotiation for the Sky TV deal. And let's be honest, that is the biggest earner for New Zealand Rugby. Clearly, the Altrad's name on the jersey is also kind of big, as is Ineos's to a certain degree. That's even lower down. But that Sky TV deal, that's the big money earner at the end of the day. Now, already, Sky was a little bit unhappy. I mean, first off, because New Zealand Rugby had set up, or New Zealand Rugby Commercial had set up New Zealand Rugby Plus, which was its own streaming service, that they were going to get lots and lots of people. Lots and lots of people of the on that side of things. And a lot of people started subscribing to the streaming service, and some reason that New Zealand Rugby thought they could compete with people like Disney, and funny enough, they couldn't. And the take-up of that has not been so good. Just a little sidebar. Look, you can join us on Facebook and YouTube. And Dennis has asked me if we're going to do depth charts for the major international teams this year. We haven't done that, no, not so far. But we have, I guess, looked more so at the new. We've done that kind of to a degree with the All Blacks. and we sort of have done that continuously for a while now. I'm just going to try and find, if I can find where I have put that, because it's in the Google Drive somewhere. So I'll see if I can just quickly bring that up. So so I say one of the things about that is that Sky was not looking at paying as much as easy. So sorry, no, I can't put my hands on it easy, so I'm not going to bother trying to do it live. But Dennis, we'll have a look at that next week. We'll look back at definitely the All Blacks, probably also the Wallabies as well, because they have announced their squad for the international. So have a look at their depth chart there, as well as who else might be just slightly outside of the squad. So probably look at those two first. So going back to the Sky deal. So Sky didn't like the fact that basically New Zealand Rugby was trying to compete with them with their own streaming service, and so hence that. Also, we have seen the demise of the competition here in New Zealand, because Spark Sport, which set up to be a competitor to Sky, decided or basically closed down, and TVNZ now has that, and they do not have the budget to compete with Sky at all. So basically, they're best to get stuff that Sky just doesn't really want on the whole. So hence, Sky does not have to put up that much cash for this deal, because there isn't the competition for them. So hence, it's going to be a smaller deal straight away. They're also not particularly happy with New Zealand Rugby. But remember, New Zealand Rugby does own something like 5% or a small percentage of Sky, as that was part of the last deal. So yes, so since that's being discussed at the moment, that's what New Zealand Rugby commercial CEO should be discussing. And of course, he's just resigning. So that's going to be interesting as to what kind of deal they get there. Also, that Sky, the New Zealand Rugby Plus thing, also actually moving that over to YouTube. And then there was some question marks as to, hey, why do you want to put something on someone else's platform? And it's like, look, again, it just shows you how fan-centric New Zealand Rugby is. If you're fan-centric, what you're going to do is you're going to be where your customers are. Your customers are on Facebook. They're on YouTube. They're on these social platforms. So go to where your customers are. Stop trying to bring them to where you are. One of the things that really annoys me about the All Blacks emails is when they give announcements of what the squads are, they won't put the squad in the email. You've got to go click on that and go to their website. It's like, just put the bloody squad in the email. I don't want to go. Why do I have to take an extra step? Why are you making it harder for me to find the information I want about your team? So they're not being. So again, yeah, that's what I've never. We've never said New Zealand Rugby are particularly fan-centric, but it just shows that that's just not what they are at the end of the day. So we'll see how that all pans out. But let's be honest, the whole Silver Lake deal so far has been a bit of a damp squib. It has not produced the results they were hoping it was going to do. And a chunk of that change has obviously been chewed up as part of COVID, not to the same extent as the deals that got signed in Europe, thankfully, the CVS deals or CSV or whatever the company is over there. But yeah, it's definitely not worked out the way that they were hoping on that one. So that's that side of things. Next up, then, let's have a quick chat then about the All Blacks, the Japan versus the All Blacks that happened at the weekend. Basically, the only international game in October. Now, first off was the kind of the lineups and who was selected for the All Blacks. Tomatis Williams, Mua, Tossi, Darry, Tuipulotu, Finau, Satiti, Kane. Look, a whole bunch of players there, all of them except for Kane, really, who have not had much game time. Obviously, Sam Kane has been starting. So now Sam Darry, isn't he down with the All Blacks 15 now with the comeback of Tuipulotu? So, but yeah, it was not a big surprise to all that change. Roy Gard then in the 9 jersey coming back from injury. DMAC at 10, making it very clear he is the number 10, right? Then Antoinette Brown, Billy Proctor in the centres, Mark Talia, Sever Reese on the wings, and Perifetta at fullback. So pretty much the only two players there who have been kind of consistent starters this season have been in there are Sam Cane and Damien McKenzie in that one. Onto the bench then with Bell, Offa-Tuangafasi and Fletcher Newell, Josh Lord, Peter Lackey, TJ Perinara, David Habili, and Ruben Love at the back there. So look, I love another player who has been in and out, who's been talked about a lot this year, unfortunately getting injured, again coming back from injury. But looking down that list, the one that really jumped out at me was Peter Lackey. Yes, he was being brought up from the All Blacks 15 to the All Blacks. Now, Peter Lackey would have been busy this weekend with the NPC final. Actually, then again, I guess Ruben Love would have also, because he's with Wellington as well, isn't he? But Ruben Love was at least part of the All Blacks main squad, whereas Peter Lackey was not. He was part of the All Blacks 15. Hasn't really been part of the All Blacks. I mean, he's been in as injury cover, but I think it's been kind of with Wellington quite a bit. So to my mind, again, kind of showing New Zealand's rugby is all about the All Blacks, not about your other products. I'd have left Peter Lackey with Wellington, to be honest with you, for the NPC final. Taking a player away for the final, I thought was bad, a bad look in my mind. Yes, it's good for him to get exposure of the All Black environments, but to me, I say the NPC final, you're just making it just showing that kind of you don't really care about the competition. Let's be blunt about this. Now, if New Zealand rugby ever come back and talk about integrity of competitions, well, then they're either then it's basically pure hypocrisy. And sort of referring to some of the discussions that have been had around trans players, for example, about maintaining the integrity of the community game. But and when you've got when you have New Zealand rugby parachuting a whole bunch of All Blacks in different numbers into NPC teams for the quarterfinals, and then pulling out a player out of the finals to come up and play one game before heading back into the All Blacks 15, integrity of competition, let's be blunt, isn't high up on on New Zealand rugby's radar. Let's be honest about this. So let's talk about the actual game. So yes, again, great to see a lot of players being given opportunities. Don't get me wrong. I think players like Billy Proctor, for example, really has not had. He played one game since the end of Super Rugby, and that was the Fiji game. He spent a lot of time training, a lot of time holding tackle bags, and I think someone like him really kind of needs some game time. Good to see players like Roy Gard, Perifetta, Ruben Love coming back from injury on that side of things. Finau, I think, is someone who has not had the kind of opportunities at 6. I think he really kind of deserves. I mean, he really did stand up in some games, but as kind of Satiti. Actually, sorry, Satiti's the other guy who has been starting regularly, but he's starting regularly at 6. So Satiti, Sam Cane, and Dave McKenzie were the 3 regular starters. Satiti getting his chance there in that one. So to me, so good to see some players getting action there. Now, did watch this one, and initially, look, it started promising, didn't it? With an early try for Japan after just 5 minutes, where the All Blacks didn't really get the ball, didn't have to get an opportunity. So well played by Japan initially, but pretty quickly, Talia and Patrick Tuipulotu scored back. Now, it's still maintained kind of a level of interest up until about the first quarter, as Makaisi got that try for Japan, making it 12-14. But look, that was on 18 minutes. We'd already had 28 points. As Nocturnal Right said, in the live chat here. Really bad defense on both sides. Yes, absolutely. Defense really was not on the cards. When you have a game that finishes with 83 points, more than point a minute, then yes, it has not been a great spectacle. Let's be honest. Yes, there's some fun flowing rugby, but is it really the contest? It's a bit like that cheap sugar rush that you kind of get. As Dennis said, Japan looked the better team in so many facets of the game early on. Yeah, and I think that's what we kind of expected when I was talking to our mate who came over to watch the game. Is look, this with only 3 starters there who've played regularly for the All Blacks, it's going to be a bit disjointed from the All Blacks until they get going. And so Japan started off the better team. And they did control especially that first opening section of the game very well, with the and not allowing the All Blacks to have the ball in there. Not to right because I felt disinterested, but stuck it out to the end. Yeah, I watched it to the end. Kind of. I guess I wound up chatting a lot more, particularly in the second half, because it blew out. It ran away, and by half time was over as a contest, with Billy Proctor, Sam Cane, Finau, Tossie, and Tamati Williams, all scoring before half time, making it 12-43. And so that's 55 points in the first half, so well over a point a minute. Not quite that many points in the second, so slightly below point a minute in the second, but it was over as a contest by that point. So I'll be honest, I wasn't paying much attention in the second half, even though it was on the telly. Roy Gard got one. Ruben Love got himself a couple as well on debut, which is fantastic for the young fella on that point of view. Nocturnal Rights says, look, he wishes the games like these games weren't capped games, because historically they wouldn't have been. Yes, I get where you're coming from, but then the flip side is that you're not paying due respect to other teams, particularly Japan, who who I think is officially now tier. Well, the idea is to get them to be tier 1 and into the Rugby Championship in the very near future. Clearly, we don't want to be, and this is seeing 19 to 64 games, but they're not going to improve if they don't get exposure and don't get games. So I get why historically it wouldn't have been a test match, but nowadays any game between the top teams of countries are considered capped games now. You don't have sort of some that are capped and some that aren't anymore. I'm not sure if I said he enjoyed the Kiwis versus Kangaroos far more. Proper test match in a different code. Yes, and don't forget to join us on Wednesday night when Brad and Richie will be discussing the Kiwis versus Kangaroos as part of the standoff show on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Folks. So look, I'm not sure what we kind of learned from this game, really, apart from that. Look, David McKenzie clearly is the number 10. That's as far as and that's who they're sticking with through thick and thin. Because a bit surprising to see that he actually got to start this game when he has played so many of the tests already this year. Because clearly he is their first choice. Also surprised to see Sam Cane in there again. Played quite a bit of rugby, but I guess he's not played hardly any rugby in the first half of the year because he was injured. So perhaps he is fresher than some of the other players who have played more rugby this year. So not much that I think we've kind of really learnt from this game. Yes, it's added a money to the coffers. Yes, it's good that actually Japan gets some games against tier 1 teams at home. We need that for growing the game, but not much really I think to learn from that one. It kind of all gets real next weekend. Let's be honest. Not so much thinks that Dean Mack is going to get cut soon because he's or thinks he knows he'll be cut soon because too many errors. We'll see as to how that pans out. But let's be honest, the pressure clearly wasn't on Razor for this game, but the pressure does come on next weekend. And the first game of the weekend from international's point of view is England versus the All Blacks at 4:10 in the morning on Sunday morning New Zealand time. Yeah, that kind of that's when it kind of gets real for the All Blacks. If they lose that one, then boy oh boy, the pressure really does come on to Razor. Remember that these sides have already met. New Zealand beating England 16-15 and 24-17. So not convincing or clear margins there. I mean, that second one was by 7 points, so both of them by just the score. And this time they're going to be away from home. So it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. Clearly, the All Blacks go in as favourites for that one. I do expect them to win that game. Don't get me wrong, but with Ireland and France coming up after that, that comes that becomes a really a very key game. If he loses to England, Ireland, and France, this is pretty much, I think this is the worst season the All Blacks have had this century. Okay, that's kind of where we are at this point. Dennis thinks that he reckons Bowden's going to play 10 versus England. That that DMAC is cooked. We'll see. I mean, yes, that might be why Perifeta's back, is that we're going to see a Bowden Perifeta combination with the DMAC coming off the bench in the 22 jersey. That could be the way it'll be. But DMAC, I'm pretty sure, will be in the match day 23 somewhere. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see the England ones, England versus New Zealand. Look, England will be at home, and I say they didn't get they got close on those ones. Oh yeah, good point. Well, not sure. Yeah, Jordan will be 15. Well, we'll see unless he puts him back on the wing again. Let's see what's where he's going to play him. Personally, I think Will Jordan should be 15. Thank you for reminding me about that. But look, this England side will go into this. Now, look, has England's preparation been perfect? No. Look, there's been some turnover in the off-field staff. And look, they're in the sort of middle of their season, or in the middle of club season. So yes, injuries will be a bigger thing for them, I'd expect, than for the All Blacks. I think pretty much I can't think of anyone in the All Blacks at the moment. I think everyone's pretty much fit now for the All Blacks. So. So it's we'll but so say with England being having had those results against the All Blacks in New Zealand earlier this year, I do think that they will go into this one without the trepidation perhaps that they would have had in previous years, thinking of kind of how much they actually think, look, hey, we can be competitive, we should be close. Now, what kind of result we'll get, we'll have to wait and see. On that one. At 6:30 a.m. on that Sunday, we've also got Munster versus the New Zealand 15. Munster with a great history of that one. Against New Zealand teams, so that'll be a cracker. And then also at 6:40, we've got Scotland versus Fiji as well. It's good to see Fiji getting some more games against Tier 1 opposition. And obviously with that team predominantly built around the Fijian and Drua, they're much more connected and prepared for this. And that gets them, it's also a good game for them to play ahead of playing Wales the following weekend. So good to see Fiji getting a couple of Tier 1s, of course, also expecting, they're also the other ones that people have been talking about coming into the Rugby Championship with Japan, to bring both of them in as part of the Nations Cup, or whatever it's been called, tournament that World Rugby is organising. So it's not quite a full round of internationals next weekend. The following weekend is when it all becomes crazy, with far too much rugby to follow. So England, New Zealand at 4:10 on Sunday morning, folks, is where it is at. Personally, I'm much preferring the start time a week later at 9 a.m. in the morning, which is what the Ireland game is. But there we go. Is Furbank fit for England? I'll be honest, I've not been keeping an eye too closely on who is and who isn't fit for the England squad. Just having a quick trying to have a quick look that as to who has come in. He's called in an extra couple of forwards due to injuries as well, with Alex Coles and Ted Hill, and also George Ford back in there as well. So now I must admit, I have not seen the who is if Furbank is fit or not, but it should be a cracking game. I say All Blacks definitely going as favourites. Not the following weekend though, when they go up against Ireland. Talking of cracking games, then we had the NPC final at the weekend between Wellington and Bay of Plenty. He's just trying to get his notes up in this one. The Wellington had obviously got obviously the first seed, having topped the table, giving themselves the home advantage. And look, they kicked off well. Julian Surveyor getting 2 tries in that first half. Aidan Ross, not a man who scores very often, did go try. Initially, was not allowed for a knock-on, but they went back with the TMO to allow it. That was after Bay of Plenty had already had a try disallowed for losing the ball over the line as well. So, those Bay of Plenty really was playing with the TMO and playing much more direct style. If you look at where who scored the tries for Wellington, 2 from Julian Surveyor and also from Felipe, so all out wide. Whereas even though Nawaya did score one, the winger he did as a pick and go from the ruck, and Aidan Ross also going over. So a bit more direct from a Bay of Plenty compared to Wellington. Look, so there was that 15-7 lead at half-time for Wellington. So just over a score there. Sorry, in the live channel, Tom Rice said hooker crisis in Ireland, and then Dennis said hooker crisis in New Zealand. Actually, I guess it's with Dane Coles retiring and stuff, it's taken them time to bring through. I guess you could say there's crisis all over the shop for the All Blacks from that point of view. And also, I say 15,000 attendance, not bad for Wellington, but the cake tin is awful. It showed up the gaps. Yes, it is. NPC should not be played at the cake tin. Let's be blunt. The weather didn't look good, and the entire crowd was sat as far back in the stand as they could, so they were undercover as well, which doesn't help for showing all those yellow seats at the front either, does it? In the second half, then it was the boot of Trask that pulled Bay of Plenty back into it through a couple of penalties before Nawaya went over, and that gave Bay of Plenty the lead for the first time at 15 to 18 on the hour mark. Wellington did get a try to even things up, so they led 3 tries to 2 in this one. But yes, 2 missed conversions by Garden Bishop did mean that it ended up. It meant that they were just evening things up at 20-all. Garden Bishop had 2 more opportunities to win it, but he missed both penalties, and so we went into extra time. And in extra time, eventually, after 93 minutes, Harkin got the penalty that went over to win it for Wellington. So cracking game to go all the way out to 93 minutes there. And boy, oh boy, the players will definitely deserve their beers after that one in that game. Really sad, clearly, for Bay of Plenty to lose it like that. But look, they got there and they pushed Wellington all the way, who had been sort of the front runners all season, the form team in this competition. So not surprising to see them win it outright. Cracking way to finish the NPC. The last time from memory that it went to overtime was the Auckland Canterbury, where Auckland won it at Eden Park, and I was there for that one. And boy, it was cracking watching an overtime game in the media box. All the Auckland media suddenly turned up for that game. Hadn't been there all season. All the other games I went to, they didn't turn up, but yeah, they turned up for the final for that one. So cracking result that day for there. And Optimize says caps a good year for NPC on the field at least. Look, on the field and off the field. From what I understand, the NPC has had better crowds. There's an increase in crowds this year, and also an increase in TV audience. The provincial unions are doing a better job at promoting it. Is New Zealand Rugby helping? No, but because as we all know, New Zealand Rugby only really cares about the All Blacks and doesn't care about any other team. It cares about the Black Ferns a little bit, but it's all about the All Blacks because that's what brings the money in, and they just generally don't bother helping to promote the rest of the game. But no, the provincial unions are doing a better job, and we have seen increases, I say, in both the turnout to games and also the TV audiences, which is one of the things I've been kind of saying for a long time is if you fill the grounds, you'll have good TV audiences, because you know what? People can't travel to away games here in New Zealand. So and there are some you can travel away to, such as you kind of when you've got Auckland playing North Harbour or playing counties, but Northland versus Southland, you're not going to get many travelling supporters heading down there. So all your supporters who would have been who support at home, they'll all switch on the telly and watch the game, and they'll also watch other games that impact their team. So if you concentrate on getting people into the grounds, then you're going to see an increase in your TV audience as well. So I think this concentration on getting people to watch it on TV and not turn up has actually backfired in that in the long run. People then start switching the TV over and watching something else. But if you get people into the grounds, properly invested into it, then they're talking about it over a coffee on Monday morning when they're back at work, around the water cooler and all of that kind of stuff. So yes. And I think actually what Thomas put it in the live chat there, that Dunedin average was 1,600, 1,400, 1,600, not very good, whereas Rugby Park and Invercargill was very good. And it shows that, look, that it is actually being done, that this is being run by the provinces, and some provinces are doing a better job than others. This is not being run, this is not a universal uplift because of a New Zealand rugby push. This is a series of unions getting their act together, figuring out how to appeal to their local audiences, the local fan base, and building that up. And I say some are doing it well, others not so well, such as perhaps some Otago, and Otago probably are not also performing to the level that their fans would expect, being a Super Rugby franchise home as well. So there you go, folks. So all a bit rushed putting this one together. I'm sorry, folks. Hopefully we're back to some sort of normality next weekend, next Monday. The whole my boss has the reason we didn't have a show last week, was that my boss has been in hospital, and so I've been doing 10 and 11-hour days to help cover for that. And then throwing the public holiday and stuff, and it's all just thrown me out of kilter for the last sort of week or so. So hopefully, as I say, things will settle down over the next week, even though looking at my schedule for this week, it's a bit crazy on the work front as well. So, but hopefully we'll be back to something like normality next Monday for the show, folks. Stay safe. Have a I'll actually pick on Oxford's final comment there. He suspects the cost of the stadium is too much for Otago, despite being a favoured tenant. Yeah, this is part of the problem, isn't it? Is that the provinces, some of the provinces, particularly in the big locations like Auckland, Dunedin, Wellington, and also Hamilton, to be honest, where we've got the bigger rugby stadiums in FMG Stadium, in Eden Park, and the Cape Tin, and also I've gone blank down in Dunedin off the top of my head. We call it the Tupperware box, but down there, Forsyth Bar. is that they expect there's kind of an expectation that they play in those ones, but the crowds aren't as big as they used to be. They don't need to, but there's still an expectation that they do from a historical point of view, and so they do, and they're just too expensive to run those stadiums for the size of crowds they get. For example, at FMG Stadium, I know historically they would only have one screen on, not both screens, because it's too expensive to run both screens, both big screens in the stadium, for example. And so stuff like that is just crazy. That they need to move to smaller, more appropriately sized stadiums, and if they get the crowd sizes back up, then move back to the bigger stadiums. But for now, they can't justify it. Let's be honest. But say it has been a cracking season overall. We should be positive about the NPC from this year. Stay safe, everyone. I'll catch you all next Monday, and look forward to the start of the internationals with Scotland getting involved with Fiji as well next weekend.